Today we're going to be talking about Necromancy's ability Darkness. We're also going to be talking about the tank armor as well and comparing it to Animate Dead at the end of the video. So in this video I'm going to give you a few examples of me testing the tank armor plus the Darkness ability at different bosses around the game and seeing just how strong this is. Is it something that makes a big difference in terms of accessibility to bosses in the game? Or is it something that isn't that big of a deal in comparison to like Animate Dead or just using power armor, or, you know, is the difference not that big? So first of all, let's take a look at the setup that I used for this video. So to start off with, of course, I was testing the full Death Warden armor set, which is the tier 90 Necromancy tank armor. This will give you a few different benefits. First of all, for every included piece of armor set that you have equipped, you're going to be gaining extra 2% dodge chance to when you're getting hit by any target. So this means that if you have a full set equipped, you're getting a 10% bonus to your dodge chance. And then of course you can combine this with the Darkness Incantation to give yourself an extra 20% chance as well. Not only that, but this set of course is tank gear, so it as well offers a 1.8% damage reduction from every single piece of armor that you have equipped as well. So the hood will give you 1.8%, the gloves will give you 1.8%, the boots will give you 1.8%, and so on and so forth from there. Finally, having this full set equipped will give you 1,843 armor, but it will also give you a life point boost of 4,500. A life point boost of 4,500 health. This is insane. And this is before you add on bonfire boosts and things like that. You can get yourself to around about 16,000 HP once you apply other boosts too. In some places, I would have been changing my gloves out with Cinderbanes to get the effect of those. And then along with this, I was testing auras such as the Aegis aura, the Vampirism aura, and of course, I also tested the Madra aura as well. As for the rest of the gear, of course, I'm just using my Zook cape. I am using an Essence of Finality for the tier 90 weapon spec, and then I've got the whatever book and stuff I use for the actual instance. I'm using tier 95 main hand and offhand weapons, and that the ring will change depending where I go. Like if the accuracy is high, then I'll use a Reaver's ring. If the accuracy is low, then I'll use a Death ring, that sort of stuff. But the main thing to look at here is going to be the armor set and the auras used. Finally, before we move on to the fun stuff, looking at bosses, on screen are the perks that I have on my armor as well that you can take a look at just to see the benefits that I'm getting from this. Heads up, these are not best in slot because I got absolutely scammed while trying to get these perks and gave up and just settled for whatever I had. Okay, so the first place that I tested this out was going to be at Telos. I haven't been here for a hell of a long time, and I actually planned in the past to push my enrage up a little bit, and we did some, and then we started to like kind of move away from the boss because it became a little bit less relevant with seeds and stuff changing and whatnot. But at the same time, I was starting to struggle with the enrage push where I was. So I figured if I couldn't really do it consistently then, let's see if I can pull off some kills at this enrage now with Necromancy and see how much more difficult it actually is. We'll see how much damage I actually take from the boss with the armor, and I felt like this would be a good place to check it out. I initially did a couple of tests at the beginning between power armor and tank armor, seeing how long I could survive just being hit in the face by Telos, and this was pretty night and day. You can absolutely see the difference in amount of damage you're going to be taking or negating between power armor and tank armor. Then when I tested out a kill at around about 700% enrage, I actually managed to pull off pushing my enrage after not being here for so freaking long. And it really wasn't like that bad. Like the last phase, don't get me wrong, was freaking terrible. I screwed up so much stuff. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have sticky bombs for the golems. It was a disaster. But the fact of the matter is, it didn't really it didn't stop me from getting the kill because of how little damage you take from this armor set during this last phase. Phase 1 to 4 with this armor set is super easy. You're barely taking any damage whatsoever. So getting to the last phase without using really any food except for maybe on the fonts in phase 4 isn't that big of a deal. Then of course my final phase example here is absolutely disgusting. It was such a mess. I didn't even have my DPS curse on because my prayer dropped, so I did this whole thing without it. But this is actually kind of good, and I'm glad this happened because you can see it was a complete disaster, and yet because I'm in the tank gear, because I have the Darkness Incantation, because it's Necromancy, this is so much easier to do. So much easier to do. I actually might start pushing my rage again and see how far I can go and just see what happens from this. But the tank gear here is such a big difference, and you can definitely tell. Next up, we went to somewhere a little bit less exciting, but we went to the God Wars Dungeon 2 bosses. I tried Hellware and I tried the Gregorovic as boss as well. I wanted to see here how easy it would be to pretty much AFK. So during this instance, all I did was make sure to have darkness up, make sure to have the tank gear on, of course, and I used a vampirism aura as well. I would conjure my ghost in the kills, but not use the command, as of course the adrenaline, you likely wouldn't have this if you were going to AFK it anyway, but you would conjure the ghost for the 30% adrenaline with revolution anyway. Other than that, I was just pressing abilities in any order. I wasn't really setting up a rev bar, which I would have to look into doing, and making a guide at some point if possible. But I just wanted to see how much damage I would take if I wasn't just hard out going DPS crazy and just kind of just using basics and a little threshold here and there, not doing full living death rotations, all this sort of stuff. Now, this actually is super easy, and I would say that anybody with tier 90 Necromancy tank gear now shouldn't have any issue with anything in God Wars Dungeon 2 related, almost at all. Obviously, if you're really new to PvM, then this is maybe going to be different. I'm not saying that you're bad if you can't do it. I'm just saying that you will absolutely have all the tools you need to be able to get to a position where you can fly through these kills and really not struggle that much. I didn't need to use any food. The ghost, without using the command ability, sustains anything that you would need to sustain, and this is not giving a single crap about any of the mechanics in the fight. You can just chill and you can just press buttons in any random order. As long as you have your ghost up and vampirism aura on, you're good to go. The same happened for Grigorovic as well. It really wasn't an issue. In fact, I'd say it was probably even a little bit easier than Hellweir because the acid pools in Hellweir. But honestly, this is kind of now just a point in the game where you can just soul split cam everything, or just protect the actual specific style everywhere, let the ghost cover up the difference in health, and these bosses become super easy. If you were actually manually pressing the order of abilities correctly, or if you had a good revolution bar set up, as I was just pressing random keys in any random order, then you would even fly through this even easier, and you wouldn't have any issues with this. It's also worth mentioning that stupid me forgot to bring a normal familiar. I had an Ice Nihil. If you brought, like, I don't know, Ripper Demon, this would be even easier. Next up, we have Zook in normal mode. I wanted to check this out and see how simple it made this, because a lot of people obviously would be looking at this to think, I wonder if I can get my Zook cape now. I wonder if this will allow me to unlock the Zook cape for whatever combat style I'm looking for, if this will be an option to do that, and how easy will it be? Well, let me tell you, this is a piece of cake now, except for maybe the actual Zook fight itself, which you're still going to have a little bit of practice with, but the waves, if you were struggling with this, it's no longer really an issue. I did this with a Hellhound, and I did it with the Vampirism Aura for some of the fight. Now, at some point, I had to change to the Penance Aura because stupid me didn't check my inventory. I loaded the wrong preset. It was bad. I didn't bring enough prayer. I didn't bring any super restore potions, just spiritual prayer potions, and I needed prayer to be there. But again, I'm at a disadvantage here, so this is kind of good for you guys. So I changed to Penance Aura throughout the fight, and I can tell you that I soul splitted 95% of this entire thing. I just camped soul split, made sure to have, of course, the tank armor on, and I had the incantation spell up, and I just soul splitted everything. Like that, you don't need to worry about prayer flicking. You don't need to really even worry about where you're standing in safe spots and stuff. I ran around like an absolute psychopath, just killing stuff in whatever order I fancied, and yeah. As long as you use your AoE abilities, as long as you are doing damage fairly well, you don't have to really worry here at all. Now, of course, you could slow this down. You could use the safe spots. You could use the protective prayers for the right things that are hitting you, and you would make it even easier. It would be slightly slower, but that doesn't matter. If you're just trying to get your Zook cape right, you can spend another 5-10 minutes. But this will be even easier than how I had it as well. After I swapped to the Penance Aura, I did use a little bit of food, and I think I screwed up a few hits from Jad as well, just because reading chat or whatever I was doing, I don't know, there's no excuse, it's just stupid really. But if you had the Vampirism Aura and you had enough prayer with you, you wouldn't need to worry about any food until you actually hit Zook in most situations. But if you did, then you're not going to be using much and you'll be okay. As for Zook himself, the damage that you take from him really isn't that much. Like, you can notice the difference. It makes it a hell of a lot easier. And I actually soul split camped all of Zook as well. I didn't use any protection prayers. I wanted to make a point of this in seeing if I died, I wasn't bothered, right? But I wanted to see if I could do this fight by just praying soul split and not worrying about anything else. So I used quite a bit of my food, but I soul splitted the entire fight. We got through it and it was nice and easy. I ate the food, but I didn't need to worry about prayer flicking at all. So using the tank armor here and the darkness incantation makes getting your normal mode cape so easy now. It is so much easier, not even having to worry about what prayer to use and where to stand in the waves, and then just being able to soul split camp Zook all the way through as well. I don't know, man, this is crazy. This was a lot harder before Necromancy released, so it's definitely really strong. So those are the main places that I wanted to talk about testing this out, but I have tested it at Raksha, I've tested it at Karabakh hard mode, I've tested it in all the elite dungeons, I've tested it everywhere except Zamorak, because I'm so bad at Zamorak, there's no point in me even trying. That being said, I don't think I need to just show you the same thing, the same results from every single boss, because you guys can kind of see where this is going. Everywhere that you use this gear, you're going to notice a massive difference in damage reduction and in like accessibility to the actual boss. You, in most places, do not need to worry about prayer flicking anymore. At Raksha, you can soul split the entire thing. You don't need to prayer flick at all, because you're going to be dodging most of the attacks anyway, and then you're also going to be healing back anything that you do take damage in. Because of the damage reduction, it just gets reduced to the point where you can just soul split the whole thing. Now, another main thing to keep in mind is keeping your ghost up and using the command ability whenever you can is also another thing that keeps you alive. Having the ghost up and using the command gives you such big heals that you just no longer need to worry about prayer flicking in most places. You do have to use it in like Solak if you're tanking at Solak. You do have to use it at high enraged Telos, but in places like elite dungeons, places like in Karabakh, you just don't need to worry about prayer flicking anymore in most of the bosses in the game. The amount of healing you get and the amount of evasion that you have and the amount of damage reduction you have, it just becomes not really needed all that much, which makes it a lot easier for people to focus on mechanics and actually doing DPS when they can just camp soul split. Now, a lot of people will see this as a negative and a positive depending on where you're at. I think the longer you get used to bosses, the more it becomes a negative, and then of course when you're starting bosses, it's obviously a big positive. But overall, this tank gear is absolutely worth getting if you're someone who is looking to get into PvM and you're struggling, maybe using the power armor. However, one thing I want to say is you can still use the darkness incantation while not using tank gear. So it's not like Animate Dead where you have to have magic tank gear for it to work. You can use darkness even if you're on power armor. So the downside to this and the kind of drawback of it is you can just use the tier 95 Necromancer armor set, and you should use this if you have the gold for it. Now, obviously, these have a massive difference in gold value, so if you don't have the gold for it, then it is what it is. Grab the tank armor if that's what you want. But the tier 95 Necromancer armor actually outperforms the tier 90 tank gear because of the set effect that makes your conjures more effective, deals more damage, and lasts for longer as well. The reason this is better than the tank gear is because the ghost will be healing you for more and last longer as well. So it just out heals the amount of difference you get from the 10% bonus dodge chance. That being said, the tank gear will still have some uses if you're taking big hits, such as the Telos so much power. You'll be able to tank that a lot easier with the actual tank gear because you get 16,000 health in total if you use all the buffs, and then if you use a Vit Pop, you're all the way up to 30,000, 32,000, and you can tank anything in the game at that point as long as it's not an insta-kill. So overall, final verdict is this tank gear plus the darkness incantation is far better than Animate Dead from what I can tell. Like far better than Animate Dead. Maybe not specifically from values of its own thing, the actual damage reduction itself, but because you also have to consider Necromancy has the ghost, you also have Deathmark to deal with certain phases, you just have a lot more in the Necromancy kit that it just completely outweighs what Magic has with Animate Dead for damage reduction other than just Animate Dead. However, if you can get your hands on the tier 95 set and you're still looking for damage reduction and like making it easier to survive through fights, the tier 95 set plus the ghost is going to be more than using the tier 90 set as well. So hopefully this video helped you out on deciding whether you want to buy this set or get this set and use it, whether you should be using it instead of the gear that you currently have, or whether you were considering still using Animate Dead or not, or whether you should stick to this. This is going to make PvM accessibility so much easier, and if you haven't tried it out yet and you are struggling with certain things, give it a go. You'll notice a massive difference, so hopefully it helps. I hope this video was useful. If it was, please do leave a like, sub to the channel if you are new, and other than that, I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.